Hello and welcome to Film Debris Podcast number 2. I am Robert Temple right here, and this is Deanthony Graves.
What's up?
And as always, we're going to be talking about movies that are coming out. This is the July 10th today, 2014. What we're going to be talking about today is our favorite movies and our most hated movies so far in the year, halfway through the year.
Yeah, we've seen quite a few movies thus far, and we have quite a mix of the movies that we do and don't like.
Yeah, the first thing that I think of is you compare it to kind of last year, the movies that came out like halfway through, and usually you got the end of the year, December-ish, and November is kind of backloaded as far as movies that you're going to hear like award buzz for, but this part of the year, last year we had like Mud, Spring Breakers, if you want to count that.
Yeah, Spring Breakers
for good movies, and right now we have some good movies that came out. I think some of the I think it's going to be a pretty good year compared to last year. There was animated movies that were questionable as far as what was in the awards and stuff, but I think this year we have some good ones. What do you think? How does the year feeling so far, halfway through?
Halfway through the year, I think we have a lot of potential. Potential as far as the good movies that have come out already, and some of the different movies that I hear is coming out. I've seen a few previews. Of course, when you go see a lot of movies, you tend to see a lot of previews, and then you tend to see a lot of the same previews. So, going off of that, there's some previews that I'm pretty excited about movies seeing.
Yeah, like Interstellar is coming out later this year.
Yeah.
The Christopher Nolan one, The Judge. I'd like to see Robert Downey Jr. tackle a little more drama.
Mm-hmm.
Some other things like that. But for us right now, first we're going to talk about some of our favorite movies so far in the year. So D, why don't you kick us off? What was top 3? We're going to do our top 3 favorite movies of the year so far. And then we're going to go into the movies we hated so far, halfway through.
So starting off, I would say one of the movies that I really did like, of course, was X-Men. Mm-hmm. X-Men Days of Future Past. I think this movie was a great improvement as far as X-Men 3, not really just like a spin-off movie, with Wolverine and stuff like that. But this movie, I would say, would come closely after X-Men 3.
First Class, don't forget.
But I mean, I don't know. I still feel like that just didn't fit in for me. I would see it as 1, 2, and 3, and then this one. Well,
I mean, it's kind of like X-Men First Class is almost kind of a reboot spin-off. Yeah.
So I don't know. I just, in my mind, it didn't set far as in that lineup, So with Days of Future Past, I liked it. I liked the story as far as what they're trying to prevent from happening. And the special effects in this movie, they looked really good, like very well done. They didn't come off cheesy or over the top. It seemed realistic as far as what the powers were looking. As far as the world that we're in, and you have to expand your disbelief as saying, well, these people can really do that. So once you get past that and saying that these are what these people do, and then you see it, you're like, okay, well, that looks believable. That looks very well done. It's like, okay, I can see that happening if that were the world today.
Yeah.
So I like that movie. I like the characters and how they interact with each other, and even how they relate. If you look at like Magneto and Quicksilver, the little spoof, like, oh, well, you control metal. Oh, my mom dated a guy who did that too. Like, so
they're little cheesy nods to the audience, like the ones who know.
Yeah, the people who know a little bit about the backstory as far as the characters go, and I appreciated that.
Yeah. Well, do you think though? Because I'm just gonna jump right on here because X-Men: Days of Future Past is also one of my favorite movies of the year so far.
Mm-hmm.
But do you think as to that point where, little hints like that, oh, my mom knew someone who could control metal, like not like there's hundreds of guys who can control metal.
Yeah.
Like from an outsider's point of view, to think, is that just overly cheesy? or is it accepted in this that it's a comic book world that it's a kind of a cheesy joke, or do you think it's too over the top?
I wouldn't say that it was too over the top, especially in the nonchalant way they did it. Like they didn't focus too much on it to make you think too much into it. So I can't say that it would be cheesy. As far as the comic book lovers and the people who do know a little bit about, that's like a nice nod to us. That hi, that's funny. You kind of laugh it off, but it wasn't. To me, it wasn't cheesy. It wasn't over the top or played out. And people who don't know it, I think that's even subtle enough for them to kind of get where it's coming from. It's like, okay, well that makes sense,
Yeah. Well, like I felt like Days of Future Past was my ideal of kind of the perfect comic book movie, because I whether or not it's true or needs to be this way, I always feel like comic book movies are good when they have some fun in them.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people like The Dark Knight, where that's one version of it, but I like it when they kind of have fun. Like the Avengers was action and it had some comedy in it, and I felt like X-Men, I don't know if I'd put on the same level as Avengers, but I'd say I like that they had some good action and some good humor that was laugh out loud type stuff. I thought they found a good balance between action, fun, without making it seem too cheesy, and still able to incorporate the 3 X-Men movies and the First Class movie.
Exactly. Especially, when you think about the Avengers movie and how they achieved such a great product, seeing as how they were including a lot of different characters, and even just besides the characters, just the actors, the big name actors alone, it's like how it wasn't too much or too over the top, or it wasn't too much going on at one time. Like some movies, they try to introduce too many characters in one movie and it's just cluttered. It's just like, wow, what are you guys doing? Pump your brakes, take a little bit of time, or maybe you should just take one out. And I didn't feel that in either the Avengers movie or X-Men Days of Future Past, because we're seeing a lot of different characters, and we're even introduced to a few new ones, and it didn't seem like too much.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty good balancing act where, like, some people will complain that we didn't see Rogue, and I would like to see Rogue in maybe her truer form that comic book fans are to know.
We're used to.
I can understand why she was cut, for all these other things and those are the kind of things, decisions you got to make, which things to cut out and which things are not necessary and which things are good for your story. And I think it was by Bryan Singer, and that was a pretty good balancing act. So
a very good choice.
So we're gonna move on. Number 2.
My second movie I would definitely say is I liked Maleficent. I was going into the movie thinking like, okay, this is going to be a typical Disney movie. Of course it was. They stayed true to that sense as far as the brand or whatever you can expect from Disney.
Audience.
Yeah. But when I went into the movie, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a little bit more than I thought I would. So I was like, wow, Angelina Jolie. I hadn't seen a movie with her starring in it for a little while. And when I knew
she has all those kids.
Yeah. Like, where'd she find the time? And when she starred in this movie, I was like, okay, well, let's see how it's going to be, And I think her acting was good. The special effects in this movie weren't too cheesy to me. The way I saw it, I thought it was good. The story was decent. It was an enjoyable movie all around. I mean, even for the adults that went to see it, and if you're taking your kid to see it, then it's safe for them. It wasn't too it wasn't too mature, but then it wasn't too childish as far as, for the little the tweens, if you would call them, the older kids, but still the ones you would want to shelter from some of the like rated R movies.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in the theater, I saw it in the theater and with, I think, opening weekend, and there was actually a lot of, I don't want to say old people, but there was an older crowd there. It wasn't like the Disney, well, I would say High School Musical, but that crowd's going up too. But, it wasn't like young kids there. It was adults and their kids, and there was laughter from everyone in the theater. But I gotta say, I didn't like it that much because I felt like a lot of the CG was pretty good, but then I thought there's a few things like with some of the fairies' faces. Maybe it was just the weird human face
On
and
the
the little bodies. And then even when Angelina flies up into the air, it didn't look. It looked like Crayola crayons drawn in her face. And then I have my thing with Charlton Copley, where I can't tell if I like him or not because sometimes he's a little overboard. I mean, I'm still not sure about him in Oldboy. If I liked that, I felt like he was a good character in the wrong world, and for this, I liked him a little more because I felt like he was pulled back. But I don't know. I had a lot of problems with Maleficent.
Yeah, I mean, I could see how someone would. I could see how it would be a hate it or love it type movie, you know?
Yeah.
But I was more on the love it side. I kind of accepted all of even with the little fairies and their funny heads, their regular size features on a little body. And I accepted it. I just saw it for what it was. And it didn't take away from the movie or the experience to me.
Yeah. Well, I like it is a good... I mean, it's what I feel like it's kind of in a way what Disney is now is everything is kind of pasteled, colored into one glob of CG in a way.
Yeah. Of Disney fun.
The live action movies, that is. Like, you know, their animated section is a separate thing, but I feel like the live action movies kind of have this gloss all over them. I would not a gloss in a way where like it's very what am I saying, massaged, and they all kind of have this family feeling as Disney movies do.
Yeah.
And I felt like turning their bad guys into good guys, I don't know, I know it's a hypothetical, but in the long run, are they going to make every good guy or every bad guy into good guys, and we just have a bunch of...
Just misunderstood?
Yeah. I mean, it just feels like our heroes and villains are going to be now a bunch of participation trophies for everyone instead of the black hats versus the white hats.
Well, what about...
Okay, well, one of the movies I did like, and maybe this is the opposite of what a Disney movie was, Jim Jarmusch's Only Lovers Left Alive.
Okay.
Which is the vampire movie with Tom Hiddleston and... What's her name? I just saw her. She was in Snowpiercer, and she was in Grand Budapest Hotel. Tilda Swinton. But it's about these vampires in kind of the modern day and the only lovers left alive. And they kind of exist on what's left in the world. But they've lived their whole life. But they're vampires existing in this world. They do not sparkle. But they've lived for centuries and centuries, so they've seen the uprising and the downfall of like Detroit, Michigan, and the rise of the Renaissance arts and stuff like that, and how music has changed, and they're kind of hipster vampires but they don't like the old things just because it's cool to like them. Like they lived through everything. So in a way, it's the director's way to give hipster opinions through the eyes of vampires. So it's like he's giving them a voice by saying the things that certain people like. Well, the vampires actually lived through it, so they liked it. So
they have a different reason for liking it.
But not only are they the lovers, like they're together, but it also means like in the art world, like they're the only ones who enjoy or appreciate things from their eras or whatever, at the level that they appreciate it. So they would have people from the younger crowd or whatever come in and they listen to these newfangled types of music or whatever, but they don't appreciate it like these old vampires do. And I just liked the world they made and the characters and how not jaded they were, but how they felt like they were the only ones who understood.
So what about
lives.
what about the style of the movie? Because I like even from the movie poster, it looks really dark and gritty.
Yeah, I mean, I think they do live in Michigan at some point in the movie, and they do have this feeling of, he's a vampire, Hiddleston, so they stay sheltered because generally the vampires, so they stay up at night. Go out at day. He has to pay this guy to get him blood. But they travel from these different places that they live throughout the world, places that they think have some kind of value to the arts and somehow. So they go to Europe, and they used to love the music of that came out of Detroit, and the cars that came out of Detroit, and he critiques on how they used to be pieces of work or masterpieces in cars in the automobile industry, and now it's like this desert or a graveyard of a place. Maybe that's why he's there now.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a cold world to them. They're the only ones left in their minds and of their kind.
Just going through the motions, huh?
Yeah, and it's more of a critique on the world, told through the director, through the voice of the vampires.
Yeah, yeah.
So I just thought it was a very good study of how modern vampires might feel.
Okay.
Seeing how we look at it, how the world's changed.
The number one movie that I would pick, I think was good, was Oculus. Oculus was another surprise. When I went to it, I wasn't really expecting to like it as much as I did. And Oculus, just in the way it was told, the story was told, the transitions from past, present, and the hallucinations, if you will, that was displayed in the movie, just the way it went from point A to C was it was almost flawless to me. It
just skipped B.
Yeah, it just went straight through, and I loved it. The story of the movie was something that it could have been a little bit better. It could have gave us a little bit more than what it did, but it wasn't in a negative sense, I still appreciated the movie. I still appreciated the story and the manner it was told. And I saw the movie by myself, so I can't even lie at the fact that the movie had made me uneasy. I was like, dang, this is gonna freak me out when I get home. But
no mirrors for a few days.
No, everything. I walked right past everything. But it was a good movie. It was. The style of the movie, it was real good. The colors weren't too washed out, but you could tell to me it felt like it was timed, time passed, because apparently we're going back to the story in their present day where they dealt with something when they were kids. So it's we don't really see what they went through from that point to this point. We're just catching up and seeing what they're trying to do because of what happened when they were kids. And I just appreciated the whole way it was told, the way it was shot, the camera angles, the lighting. It was bomb.
Yeah, I'm not a big horror movie fan, as you know. But Oculus surprised me too. And when I was sitting in the theater and I first saw the WWE production, I was surprised because I didn't realize it was I guess a Vince McMahon product. But yeah, I was surprised too. It, like you said, it looked good, and the story was not limited, I would say, but I would say it was focused. It's on a specific thing in a specific place, and it keeps us there, the audience.
Yeah, it keeps us there in that time, but it transitions us through time, still dealing with that same situation, and. Man, I that's really the only thing I could say about it is just the way that story was told and how we went through two different times and the effects from the evils that we were dealing with, as far as how it can make the characters see things that weren't really happening, but the way it was told, it didn't disrupt the flow of the movie. Everything was so cohesive. Whether we went from how they were as adults to 12 years earlier when they were kids, and it's just I can only imagine how they actually shot those sequences. The kids had to have been on the set, that way they can just jump in front of the camera at that appointed time and everything just flowed so smooth. It was just a beautifully shot movie.
That was one where the seeing the trailer, I was kind of turned off by it, and then when you see those same scenes that were in the trailer in the movie, it gives it more context. It fills the holes of what's going on, because in the trailer it kind of looks silly that someone would bite into a ornament or apple or whatever. But when you see it happen, it just makes more sense, and maybe that's just one of the problems with the how do you tell a 2-minute story from a 2-hour story and get it to fit everything in there. And yeah, Oculus surprised me too. So my number one movie was the Lego Movie.
The Lego Movie.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it's number one as far as best, but it came out January, I think, or whatever. And it was directed by, let's see, Lord and Miller, the same guys who directed the 21 Jump Street, 22 Jump Street. And some of the things that it did in the Lego Movie was they broke the fourth wall a few times, but I felt like some of its strengths in that were some of its downfalls. Once again, I'll remind you, this is the movie I liked. But it was really fun. It was really smart. It was kind of a critique on society. And one of the things that I always think is confusing is in the beginning they have the song, "Everything is Awesome," and everybody in the town sings this song because everybody likes the same thing, because they have one or two discerning things about each character within the town that makes them individuals. But so they all like the same things. They all like the same TV show, and then it's saying how people in our society just like all the same music and like all the same things, and like there's no different from them from the point of view of the establishment, quote unquote. But then by the end of the movie, everybody in the audience is walking out singing "Everything is Awesome."
Yeah.
And it turns them all into fans, and everyone's joining together that they love the movie, but then at the same time they're liking the music that is saying that they're all the same.
I actually heard that one of my coworkers was singing that, and she was all over it.
And we are back. We're talking about the films halfway through the year of 2014, what we liked and what we didn't like. We're going to talk about what we liked. And now it's time to get negative, because that's what the internet loves.
We're about to get dirty.
So I'll start off. So one of the worst movies I've seen this year, but is a lot of people won't have to fear because there's a good chance you're not going to see it, but it is so bad that it has to be mentioned, is a movie coming out of India, Bollywood if you will, called Hum Shakals. Now stay with me here. It was halfway through the movie when I realized what Hum Shakals meant, because I don't speak that language, obviously. Not obviously, I mean, who knows? Maybe I could. I don't know. I mean, I know.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it means, well, maybe I don't know what it means. It means doubles or copies or something. So the movie is about these two guys who are, in the head of this company, and the father is going to die. So the evil uncle tries to take over the company by poisoning the two guys with water that turns them mentally into dogs for 24 hours. So these two grown men on camera are barking and crawling around. That's fine. It's like a Tim Allen Disney movie or something. But then, so they go to their insane asylum. We happen to meet two humans who are their exact doubles, and they go to the insane asylum, and they're actually like two insane people, which is already insulting to insane people that they're crazy because they're the way they're represented. And then they go and find that there's actually a double of the evil uncle also, who lives down in the doldrums, the bottom of the insane asylum, who is, not only is he crazy, but he also has obsessive compulsive disorder, which is defined in the movie as level 1 means he's someone who doesn't like to get germs. Level 2 is someone who doesn't want to get germs and it's something stupid. And then level 3 is if you sneeze, then he's going to turn violent and beat people up. So it's already like insulting that they don't know that OCD could mean several things.
Yeah.
But it's not just germs and sneezing. So that joke is used many times where someone sneezes and he goes and beats them up.
Oh, wow.
then the evil scientist who used the dog serum on him does surgery to two of his assistants, and turns them into triples of the two guys. And then they get, well, they've been lazy for a while, but then they get kind of lazy, and they're looking at a picture of the evil uncle, and someone's aunt walks by and says, "Oh, hey, that's my nephew who lives in Miami." No, it's the picture of someone. No, I know who that is. That's my nephew. Oh, so the evil uncle has a triple too.
Oh, wow.
So they go to find him. Maybe it's not Miami, whatever India's version of Miami is. My brain was starting to hurt at this point. So I actually said out loud in the theater, "Are you effing kidding me?"
Wow. You vocalized that.
Yeah. So there's three sets of triples. Is that right?
Yeah.
And the tagline of the film is 9 times the fun. In my review, I put something like 9 times 0 is still 0 fun. But it was just poorly written, poorly executed. I'm jealous that they had such good lighting and sound for their movie. And then you have at some point in the movie, the 3 guys dress up as women to try and entice their doubles. And of course, they're sexually attracted to their doubles as dressed up as women.
Oh, wow.
Which makes,
no sense. That just sounds awful. And I'm going to have to take your word for it. Because I don't think I'll go see it.
The thing is, it's almost, I think it's 2.5 hours or something. It doesn't need to be that long, obviously. It doesn't need to be a 5-minute sketch. And the thing is, I think it's so bad that it's not even like a movie you could watch to laugh at how bad it is. It's not even that bad. So
it's still lacking at being bad.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
It sucks at being good. It sucks at being bad.
And it's just an all-around overly long movie. So you would say that's probably the worst movie you've seen?
It's definitely the worst one I've rated, but I didn't know how much I could give emotionally, so I'm gonna have to take a rest and step back for a while. But Humshakals, if you dare, go ahead and dare. I dare you.
Well, the movie that I would say I genuinely disliked would be A Haunted House 2. And it's actually, I have a funny story about that. It's the fact that
with Wayans.
Yeah, that's what Marlon Wayans.
Marlon Wayans, Jamie Presley,
and what?
Fluffy.
Oh, girl,
What's the comedian?
Cedric the Entertainer,
I don't know what girl you're.
Whatever. Anyway. Now, when I went to see this movie, I can't say I was really excited to see it because I wasn't too impressed by the first movie. But the first movie was a little funnier that I was like, okay, whatever, I'm just going to go see it. And that was the first movie that I had seen that I was actually considering, in fact, I actually walked out of. It's sad to say, but...
The Haunted House 1?
A Haunted House 2.
Oh, 2.
A Haunted House 2 was bad that I walked out of. So I have this thing where I call it a Concepts Watch selfie, because my plan for Concepts Watch is to watch 1,000 movies in theaters. Yeah. And with every movie, I will take a selfie with the movie poster and put it on Instagram and Twitter. When I put it on Instagram, I put my selfie, I had the comment, by far the worst movie. And actually, Mike Tides, I hope I'm saying his last name right, but it's Mike Tides, is how it sounds. He's the director and producer of that movie. He comments on that picture and he says, "Nice." So after maybe 1 or 2 responses, me and him actually end up having a conversation via Instagram. And, he's like, comedy is subjective. And I'm like, I completely agree. Maybe I didn't understand where you were coming from. And it turns out that this guy, he was really accepting of the opinion of his movie, whether it was good or bad. And I respect that, I could respect him as a director or a creator work of art, and then some people really not like it. How do you not feel a certain way about it? But man, when I was watching that movie, I was just like, where is this going? Where's this going? And it was so confusing because I like Marlon Wayans as a comedian.
Yeah.
I like him as an actor.
I do think he's funny.
Yeah, I like him as an overall person. But in the movie, I was just like, what the hell am I watching? What is this? You know? And, you know, it's real hard not getting to that point. Like, well, maybe he should only do movies with his brother because they're always really funny and really successful. And I was like, that's robbing him as an actor and a comedian because he is good by himself, you know?
Yeah.
This movie I couldn't get a hold of. I couldn't grasp it. I couldn't understand, and I was trying. I was like, this just isn't funny. And I felt kind of left out because all the comments and stuff I was seeing about this movie saying, oh, this was the funniest movie ever, and I felt like I was missing the joke. I consider myself to be pretty understanding of humor and an open-minded person, but this one I was just lost. So A Haunted House 2.
Well, the thing is, like, with his family, I mean, now he's kind of going to be competing with his nephew, right?
Yeah,
It's his nephew, right?
Damon Wayans Jr.,
Yeah.
who's in Let's Be Cops. He was in The Other Guys.
Yeah.
He's a real funny guy,
Yeah,
and he's a pretty good actor, too. You know, and they definitely support, and the whole family, they're the Wayans brothers, they're doing this tour of stand-up comedy. Marlon's doing stand-up comedy right now. So hats off to him, but with this movie, I just couldn't get it.
Well, I mean, in a way, I mean, it's a parody. I mean, it comes in a long line of parody movies now that it's just a thing ever since, I don't know, Not Another Teen Movie.
But
everything is there's a line of parody movies.
What they're trying to say as far as this movie is, it's not a parody. It's what they consider a dark comedy. Now,
but isn't it supposed to be like Paranormal Activity?
What they're saying is it's got influences, but it's not a parody of that movie. It's just got like influences. It's supposed to have the I think Paranormal was for the first one, and with this one they're kind of going more with the that horror movie. God, why am I drawing a blank now with the doll and
The Conjuring?
The Conjuring. That's where they're trying to go as far as with that one. They're trying to go.
Man, that sex scene.
Oh my goodness.
I mean,
he just gives it to his bears.
Yeah, he's like, I worked out a lot. I gotta show you my body.
Yeah. And
and I'm sure there's an audience for that.
There's an app for that too. So
but yeah, I mean, I felt like I did think there were some funny things in it. But I did feel like it kind of was drawn out a bit. And there was some slow moments, and there's a lot of the comedy depended on Marlon Wayans because it was just him doing physical comedy in front of the camera, which is funny, but when I feel like that's the only thing they got really going on, then, you know, it's a hard sell.
Honestly, after talking to Mike about it, I kind of want to check the movie out again. And
first name basis now.
Yeah, you know, like we email each other now.
I think that's fair.
I feel like maybe I was too harsh. I still feel how I feel about the movie, but maybe I didn't really give it a fair shot. So I'll just watch it again to see if my opinion changes. But with how I was feeling about it the first time, it's not really going to make a difference.
Yeah. We'll see. My next movie that I disliked of the year so far, I'm going to say is Pompeii. Now, I mean, you could say there's not a lot of expectations going into it.
We saw that together, right? Yeah. Oh, gosh.
One of the things about it is I think it was directed by Paul W.S. Anderson, the guy who does all the Resident Evil movies, which are kind of I want to say guilty pleasure for me. Because I like Resident Evil, I like the series, and I like the movies, but I know they're not good movies, you know. But I'm a fan of the series, and I always like to see the new things they can put in there because I've seen the games and whatever. And so it's been a while since I think he's departed from that. I think he might have did Ultraviolet, some other things. But he's doing Pompeii here, which is, you know, his chance to kind of do disaster movie. But in the situation of Pompeii, it's like we all know kind of what's going to happen. And then you have Kiefer Sutherland, who I've had some problems with once again, video games coming up. Excuse me. And other things coming up. Kiefer Sutherland taking over the job of David Hayter as Solid Snake. It's kind of some disparaging things going on between there. So Kiefer Sutherland in this movie, he had like a lisp. And I don't know if he's supposed to be kind of a gay character, and it's kind of a, not callback, but it's kind of a nod to the culture at the time where, you know, you used to take a young boy as your... I don't want to get too far into it. That's what she said. But, or that's what he said in the situation. I didn't like his character. I thought it was kind of silly. And it's kind of weird for Kiefer Sutherland to go do that thing. And luckily, it's like an under-the-radar thing for him, and I don't think he's gotten much flack for it. I'm just saying, personally, I thought it was not good. You had a guy, Kit Kitteridge, who was from Game of Thrones. I don't see star potential there. And, you know, good luck on his next project. I'll be looking forward to see whatever it is. He didn't strike me as anything special. And then you have Emily Browning, who, same thing you got going on there. I've heard described as having zero charisma. There's some things I liked her in, or some movies I've liked that she's been in, more accurately. But it was just... It was Gladiator with a volcano at the end.
Wow.
And there wasn't even like a Russell Crowe level of performance in the movie.
At all.
And that's saying something. But I mean, Russell Crowe used to be more respected. But he did know this year maybe he's getting back on an uptick. But Pompeii, we watched at the end. The final moment is so cheesy.
Yeah.
When they're standing there staring at each other in the eyes and saying, "Just look at me." We're gonna hit spoilers. Sorry, spoilers for ancient Rome. But then they get hit by the lava, and it's my quote was, "The goggles, they do nothing."
One of my biggest problems with that movie is how they always get the perfectly timed monologue. Why is it when disaster strikes, you have some long speech you need to give, yet you always have time to finish it?
Yeah, and he doesn't revise it.
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, hold on, let me get to page 3.
No, like all of this, he had the perfect things to say in the perfect amount of time. There is terror and hysteria all around you.
Death, everyone, yeah.
Everyone's dying. People
Flying
are
fire.
burning. I didn't feel like people were burning. I felt like it wasn't painful enough. And if this, with as much death and monologue hand in hand, like, I felt like it should have been like Sam Jackson in Deep Blue Sea when he's giving the speech, and that was probably the first time where I saw that done how I would expect it done. This guy, there's terror going on. He's giving a speech, and his speech gets cut short because of the terror that's going on.
Yeah.
How do you have perfect time to give a speech and nothing, like, you don't get injured, nothing hits you, you just...
Well, see, like, that's the difference, like, I mean, you know, you have people like Tarantino or Winding Refn or directors where violence, you know, in real life, violence is sudden and it's quick and it's decisive and it's, you don't get, you know, when people die, they die. They don't get to give you their last words, usually, sometimes, most of the time. They don't get to give you their love speech. They don't get to give you, one last thing I didn't get to tell you.
Yeah. Something else that was on my mind.
Yeah. Let me
this situation makes me feel like this, and then you follow it up with a perfectly timed haiku, and it was Pompeii. That just pissed me off. Like, there were probably 4 or 5 different speeches that I felt should have been cut short. It's like, how does he have time to say all that? And lava's coming at you. You're not one bit scared.
Yeah, you know, the famous thing about that volcano and everything was that it happened so fast that people didn't have time to get out, and that they're frozen in place for the rest of time. In this movie, the lava was very selective.
Yeah, of who it was taken out.
And I guess the lava was like, okay, only lovers will be left alive. And I'm going to kill everybody else first.
Nice.
But Pompeii, one of my... I mean, I'm not even going to say I expected it to be good, but I guess I hoped it would be
as far
better.
as the story goes, I mean, the story was interesting. I thought that the movie would have reflected a little bit of interest like the story does. And it just pissed me off in the way it was done.
See, the thing is, like, it's a gladiator type movie with a young person playing that role. And that's a problem I always have, is when you have, like, an adult movie and someone who is young in the role. And that's kind of like one of the problems I have with Chronicle is they're young guys in the role of, like, if you see, I want to say an older guy, Magneto, destroy a whole city or whatever with his powers, that looks cool. But when you see a younger guy do it, I always feel like it's kind of bratty.
Like, sit in the corner and stop throwing your temper
Yeah,
tantrum.
like it kind of comes off as, and maybe it's just because they're not as seasoned, maybe it's just something I see in my head. But I feel like when it's that Kit Kitteridge, I don't even remember his character's name, versus Russell Crowe. I mean, Russell Crowe has gravitas behind him. Mm-hmm. He has history behind him, life that he's lived before that came to why he's there. This guy is just a guy who's in love with a girl.
And that's it.
Yeah, and I feel like we've spent too much time on it already, so go ahead.
Well, a movie that I had seen and I wasn't really impressed with was Brick Mansions. Mm-hmm. Brick Mansions, the whole time that I was watching this, I was just thinking, not even to myself, out loud, I was telling the people I was watching it with, like, this is just ridiculous. This is ridiculous. Now, RZA, I like him as a person. I like his mind. I like his way of doing things. As far as an actor, you know,
I like his involvement in movies, like when he does the soundtracks.
When he does, musically, this guy is a genius. But then, you know, it's like just acting might not be you.
Yeah.
It's safe to admit we accept you in every other aspect, but maybe not in front of the camera.
I even saw the man with the
Iron Fist.
Iron Fist, yeah. And where he kind of had the lead role in that, and it was like, it's an interesting story, but why is he talking with that accent
he can't get rid of it. He can't get rid of that accent. That he was the only New Yorker that was in Japan at that time, and I give it to him. But like you said, when he comes to like soundtrack and he's like involving with the score and all that, like wow, this dude is a genius. I love all of that, but his acting just lacks. His acting lacks, just like in music when he was rapping, it lacked. You know, he did everything impressive music-wise, but, you know, rapping, he lacked. And even talking about acting for the late Paul
Walker.
Paul Walker.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. You want it to be good.
Yeah, it's terrible with the fact, you know, I feel like a lot of people went to see it, you know, to pay their maybe final respects, or, you know, it's like, oh, maybe we owe it to him. This was his, like, quote unquote, his final movie, or...
Yeah, he might have one other in the pipes, or whatever he was filming at the time.
But the sad thing is, his acting in this movie lacked too.
Yeah.
And not even his acting in the movie as far as Paul Walker, but the acting as far as the character he was, which was supposed to be like agent, or you know, he was like a undercover, but his cover kept getting blown, but like quick
by the people standing right next to him.
Yeah, like, why can't you even? You're acting. The character you're acting can't even act all that good. You keep getting caught. What good are you? You know? In 2 different occasions in this movie, his cover was blown within minutes of being involved with the people he was trying to get close to. And I feel like that's the main reason of an undercover agent, and you couldn't do it.
Yeah, you would think so.
Yeah, and the movie, like, the situations they were going through was just silly. It was silly. There were some good points in this movie, like the intro sequence with all the parkour and the guys like evading all the people chasing him. I thought that was cool. That really hooked me into the movie, and I thought I was in line for a treat.
You know, this is Brick Mansions, which I also didn't like, but there was some good action scene in it. It's based on a French produced movie, District B13. Anyone want to give District B13 a chance? You like that parkour, you like whatever. It has the original actor who was in this, not Paul Walker, but the other guy, David, I want to say something. And it's produced by the guy who did The Fifth Element and Leon the Professional, La Femme Nikita, whose name is escaping me right now, so everybody's yelling right now at their computer or whatever. That's that guy. Oh, yeah. That guy. And so, his name is just stamped on there pretty much.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it was disappointing. And as far as the RZA goes, I felt like before shooting every day, he just watched Scarface and just tried to be Tony Montana.
Tried to be tough.
Yeah.
And that's actually, now that you mention that was another problem I had with the movie. This guy is small. Okay, RZA by stance isn't a big dude. He might be tall, but he's really skinny. And the way these people were so afraid of him, it's like, well, what are you so afraid of? I'll be damned if you're going to be smaller and about 100 pounds less than me, you're just going to be grabbing my head, pulling me down. I'm sorry, you just, physically, that's not going to happen. You're going to have to undermine me. You're going to have me shook by, like, blowing up 3 of my houses with me almost being in it. Like, there's got to be a reason I'm going to be scared of you, not just because of you or the maybe the name you've built for yourself. No, you have to do something to me.
Yeah, well, wasn't it where like he was kind of the savior of Brick Mansions? Or, like he was the one controlling things?
Yeah, he was like the governor or something of it. He was to a point to where he had a name for himself and people respected him, but they feared him at the same time, and I just couldn't understand why they feared him. Like, when these people are bigger than him, what do you have over them that makes them so scared of you?
They can't just revolt and...
I just wasn't believing it.
Yeah.
And that was pretty much for the whole movie. Like, everything that was going on, he was so in love as far as being an agent, and his whole world changed within 5 minutes. He didn't even give up a fight about his beliefs or whatever. He spent his whole life believing could be changed in like one conversation. Like, really? Come on.
I commend you if you can like take the facts and go, huh?
Yeah,
okay,
let me think about this.
Yeah, but
that makes sense.
A few sentences
and next thing you know, you're going against your own government. That's like you telling me everything, not even getting like political or whatever, but you telling me everything about America, and then all of a sudden I'm just going to go revolt against the U.S. Like, it's not going to be that quick. You're going to have to hit me and hit me and hit me and hit me with some facts that's going to make me even consider what you're saying is, wow, this is going to change the whole way I am for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Well, so, So with all due respect to Paul Walker, I think I realized when I was watching Brick Mansions that that might have been the first Paul Walker movie I've seen in the theaters, because I never saw any of the Fast and Furious movies, and as I was watching it, I kind of felt like, wait, this is what Paul Walker's like?
This is what we're missing, and the acting wasn't even that different in the Fast and the Furious. You kind of get what you see, and I'll leave it. All due respect, Paul Walker. May you rest in peace. But that movie sucked. So moving on.
It might not be his fault that the movie sucked, but
no, it was his fault. it was all his fault. He's the only one I blame.
So one of my least favorite movies of the year is a movie called That Awkward Moment. So, like I was saying about Paul Walker just now, I don't know if I've ever seen a movie with him in the theater. This was the first time I was getting to see Zac Efron. Yeah. And I had heard of him for many years, of course. High School Musical, and I think he was in Charlie St. Cloud, and maybe some other things. But so this was the first time I was going to see him, and so I like to have an open mind about it and say, okay, what can this guy do? This is also the first time I'm seeing Miles Teller. And Michael B. Jordan is in this also. Imogen Poots. So that awkward moment is kind of a bromance, I guess, is now the popular thing. Bromance movies. And I always felt like gay humor is some of the easiest to do. You know, you have a trailer where you have James Franco and Seth Rogen just staring each other in the eyes, whispering sweet nothings. And it's funny because, you know, it's like, oh, they could kiss any moment. I just... Nothing against it, and it's given me many laughs throughout the years. And when I was younger, I realized that gay humor is the easiest to do, just to make a gay joke between people. But this has nothing. There's none of those moments in this because they're all bros, and you know you can't have Zac Efron going against character because you need people to come in and see his movies. So I wanted to see what he was like, and all I can say is walking out of it, I thought, wow. He is not a good actor. And then, was he in something else since then?
Neighbors?
Okay, Neighbors, yeah. And then I was going to give him a second chance and say, okay, maybe he's good in Neighbors, and I walked out of that thinking,
wow.
Well, they know how to cover up his flaws. If you see that movie, you'll see that Seth Rogen has some long takes, and every take that Zac Efron has, it's short, quick lines, and then cuts to another angle, or cuts to another person, cuts to another scene, and then cut back to him, and then he'll say another sentence. He could get good. I heard someone say that, wow, Zac Efron is actually really good and funny. He might have had some funny moments, but I don't see him as a good actor.
Yeah, like all around, huh?
Yeah, all around or all at even a little bit round. Maybe he'll get good someday. I'll watch his movies to see if he gets better. That's fine, and I'm fine with that. But it was like that awkward moment. First of all, using that, you know, the phrase awkward, just to get the name. Maybe it was from a book. You know, it's been a while since I've seen it. And then you have Miles Teller in there, who is playing kind of the douchey friend. You know the character who's like really cocky and egocentric. And he, you know, expects the woman to like him because of his confidence. And he's not even a good-looking guy. But, you know, that happens where, you know, confidence can get you things. But Miles Teller really just turned me off. And now you have Miles Teller and Michael B. Jordan, who's going to be in the Fantastic Four. We'll see how that goes.
Oh, wow. I mean, it's funny that you mentioned that as a movie that you didn't like. I can't say that I liked it, but... It was different. It was different. Like you said, Zac Efron as an actor, he's someone you can easily get tired of. You know, like, I guess unless you're a teenage girl or you're just into his look, there's not really much that he has to offer me. Yeah. You know, nothing that's really going to make me bang down the doors to see his movie or like be all on the edge of my seat for his scenes or anything like that.
And some people might say, well, maybe he's not for you. Maybe that's not, you know, they don't put him on screen for you. Maybe that blah, blah, blah. Okay, but then you got people like Tom Cruise, and maybe it's not fair to compare Tom Cruise to Zac Efron, but Tom Cruise was at one point the good-looking guy. Yeah. But he's managed to make movies where, you know, there's different
you can
elements.
Respect him not only for his looks but also for his acting.
There's action and whatever. So, you know, Zac Efron obviously is an earlier point in his career. Maybe he can do other things. And like, there's another example, Robert Pattinson from the Twilight movies, which we already know what those movies are. But I mean, he was really good in The Rover, which came out this year with Guy Pearce. You know, maybe a little bit overboard, like I said, I think in the review, like Robert Downey Jr. says in Tropic Thunder, never go full tard. I think he went a little full retard there, but still, Robert Pattinson's good. You can see that he's gonna do some elevate. He could do some good things
now that he's done with his Twilights.
Yeah,
he can go to some. That was just practice. That was practice, and now he can get ready for the show. Yeah. And hopefully Zac Efron can do the same thing. Michael B. Jordan. I like him as an actor. You know, not only is he a good look for movies, like physically on screen, the guy looks good, but you believe his character. Like, you believe the situation his characters are in is something that you can really go through. And it might fit closely to the same situation. Whereas Zac Efron's his situation, I was just like, how often does that really happen to a normal person?
Well, yeah, I think Michael B. Jordan was the best part of this movie. Not only that, I feel like he should have been the main character in the movie. The story should have been about him, and we should have seen the bro stuff going on in the background. Because his story dealt with actual things. Wasn't there like a divorce?
It was like his wife was divorcing him. He was leaving them. She was like cheating on him, having an
especially
affair.
like at a young age. You know, that's a situation that's already interesting.
Something you can already believe would happen.
And we worked at a doctor's office or something like that.
This was a kid who did everything right. He did everything that you would think. He got his education. He got a good job. Got the woman of his dreams. And he says in the movie, we checked all our boxes. So you really feel like he did everything right.
I think mine stopped.
And things just weren't working out for him. So yeah, his story should have been the main story, and his bros should have been helping him get around it as opposed to just forget about it and get over it.
If Zac Efron's going to keep going, is he going to join the comedy crew with Rogan and everyone?
I hope not. So, having said that, the last movie I would talk about as far as a movie that I didn't really like or I was very unimpressed with was Godzilla. Some of the special effects, okay, I'll accept. I liked the way they looked, like, Godzilla blowing fire. That's something we know about Godzilla that he could do. And actually seeing that with today's techniques and technologies, it did look good. But the rest of the movie, I didn't really like the way it looked. I didn't really like the story. I didn't like the characters and how nonchalant about everything they were. And even, Aaron Johnson.
Mm-hmm. Aaron Taylor Johnson, right?
Aaron Taylor Johnson. Like, I liked his acting in Kick-Ass, and I thought that was a good suit for him. But in this movie, I was just a little confused as to what his purpose was.
Yeah. My big problem with this movie is that it's called Godzilla, not called Some Family Who Lives in Some City.
Yeah.
Because that's where you spend most of your time is
exactly
around this family. Breaking Bad dude.
Yeah.
Bryan Cranston, his character, he's the father there. And I know there's some people complaining that he wasn't even in the movie that much. Spoilers, sorry. But his character and what his character meant and what his character did, kind of echoes throughout the rest of the movie into his son's character. And I didn't really like Aaron Taylor Johnson in the movie that much. He just kind of seemed like straight-faced military guy most of the time. And then they throw in a kid in there for him to save for a 15-minute.
Yeah, the kid.
To remind us that he's a good guy, I guess.
Yeah, because other than that, you don't really see much coming from him. I mean, the whole thing he's trying to do is get back to his family, but every chance he gets, it's like he's leaving his family to go do something else. And, as far as the leading lady, Elizabeth Olsen, she's someone I haven't seen too much with. I mean, Silent House, I thought she was okay in that, even though the movie wasn't all that great. But I like her acting. I like her look. She was kind of a breath of fresh air. But in this movie, she was just stagnant.
I felt like she wasn't given that much to do. Yeah. I think she could be one of the better actresses in years to come.
Yeah.
But in this, she wasn't given much. And I would say Aaron Taylor Johnson wasn't given much. Bryan Cranston was given the best role in the movie, but he's not
for a while he was there.
And then you have Ken Watanabe, who a lot of people like him. He's got his own kind of gravitas, but the whole movie he's supposed to be representing the Japanese, I suppose, in this American movie. Mm-hmm. And the whole movie is just staring up into the sky with his mouth open, going, "Oh my God," and that's his whole movie. The problem, I felt like it took a long time to get to Godzilla. That's fine. If what you're doing before Godzilla comes and all that stuff is fun to watch.
Yeah.
And for me, it wasn't fun to watch that family.
It wasn't. It was just a long movie. And Godzilla, for the 10 minutes we've seen him in this movie, only 3 or 4 of them were worth it. So it was just a loss for me. It was a loss and a loss. I wasn't I can't say going into this I was the biggest Godzilla fan, but I did respect Godzilla. I did like his story, but when I saw this movie, I just walked away feeling like I should have got more than what they gave us.
Now, there's a slow burn sometimes in movies, and movies like Jaws and Alien gets respect because of the way that they built the suspense, and you don't see Jaws or the Alien for that much in the movie until the end. It becomes the climax of the movie, and so I could see that they're trying to go for something like that. But on the other hand, did you see Pacific Rim? Mm-hmm. I'm wondering if Pacific Rim kind of soured us or spoiled us as far as Godzilla goes, because the year before Pacific Rim comes out, and that starts out with monsters walking around not everywhere, but giant robots and giant monsters fighting right away. And I mean, I didn't like Pacific Rim that much, but I think it had its own kind of quirky sense of humor and its own weird eclectic style. But I'm wondering if there's, well, obviously if you didn't see it, it didn't bother you. But I'm wondering if, by and large, like, we got Pacific Rim that was 2 hours of giant living things fighting each other, if that changes the perception of the slow burn that Godzilla tried to be.
Well, even if that was the case, seeing that movie, I would have liked to have seen Godzilla a little sooner and for a little bit longer than most of the time we're seeing him. He's just swimming, and it's like we don't know where he is, but every time you see him, we're following him with helicopters, just watching him swim throughout the ocean and stuff. It's like, wow. And then he shows up, he does his thing, and then he kind of just walks away, and we just let him.
He does the greatest thing they do in movies when he walks, and then he stops, and then he goes, roar, and then he swims away.
And then he just leaves.
And then, it might as well cut to a little kid with an American flag in his hands, crying.
Yeah.
Goodbye, Godzilla. See you next time.
We love you. You just destroyed most of our city, and most of us are homeless and without power. But
Superman did that the year before.
Yeah,
and we're gonna rebuild again.
It's okay. The cities are going broke, but we always have the best insurance, the best property damage insurance.
Yeah, we have Godzilla insurance
in the world. So.
All right, so those were some of our worst movies. We're gonna take a little break and then we'll come right back. You listen to the Film Debris podcast, and we are back with the Film Debris podcast. We went over our favorite movies, our least favorite movies. Do you have any honorable mentions you want to bring up as something you liked? Like for me, I liked The Lunchbox. It was an Indian movie that came out, but it might have been last year. Locke with Tom Hardy was really good. And Enemy. I liked Enemy a lot. The guy who directed Prisoners. Dennis Villeneuve, and it had Jake Gyllenhaal in it. And that was really good. Some movies I didn't like. God's Not Dead. I thought that was a total misrepresentation of humanity. As I said in the review. Jin, which was another foreign movie. Maybe a lot of those that come over here are not that good. Yeah, it's a small audience anyway.
We're spoiled.
Yeah. And then the ones you said, Haunted House 2. Meh. Oh, there was some horror movie, The Devil's Due. I can't even remember why I hated it so much, but I didn't like it. Oh, I think it had the found footage. The handy cam found footage style. I'm having trouble adjusting to that style and appreciating it. Paranormal Activity, some of the ones I didn't like.
A movie I wish I would have liked more was The Quiet Ones. Mm-hmm. I thought that had potential.
I think I gave that like an average.
Yeah, like it was definitely a movie that don't go into it expecting too much, because I don't want you to let yourself down.
Was that the one that used all the scare,
the horror, yeah, all the loud noises to get you startled, or make you jump out of your seat or whatever. And, I just had different vibes with that movie. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. I just wish I would have liked it a little more.
Yeah, I mean, I think I gave it an average score because it had some good points to it, but then its bad points kind of balanced out the good points, and it tried a little too hard with the jump scares, but
that's definitely something that you can get tired of. Everything the movie doesn't scare you. It's the loud noise that scares you, and it's like, oh, that's not fair. That wasn't even
Hey, that's not fair.
But I did like Olivia Cook in it, and I was exposed to her from Bates Motel. I saw her in that show, and I thought she had potential. And seeing her in this movie, she was actually good too. I was just the way her character was kind of blasé or whatever. It's just
I don't know if it. Sometimes I felt like it didn't quite fit with who the character was or who the person was in the character. Like, she's tortured or whatever, but it's horror movies. Sometimes they have weird personality things, and she was also in a movie recently, The Signal.
The Signal.
I want to check her out some more. I felt like Jared Harris and Olivia Cook. I remember saying something like, it's like seeing an alternate universe of Christina Ricci and Philip Seymour Hoffman. Philip Seymour Hoffman. Ooh, another one, rest in peace. He has a good movie coming out this year, too. The trailer looks pretty good. I think it's The Most Wanted Man. Before I forget, I also want to give it up to Captain America 2, which was, I think, better than a lot of people expected.
I thought it was better than the first one.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, I felt like maybe it's one of those situations where we're done with the introductions. Now let's just
just get into what you've been waiting for.
Yeah.
So I definitely respect the Winter Soldier. I like that movie. It was nice.
So that's what we've got so far for Film Debris 2014 midway point. We got some big movies still coming out. Guardians of the Galaxy.
Well, we still have Ninja Turtles.
Ninja Turtles, right?
Yeah. So we have a lot of potential of movies coming up. Just listen out for us. We appreciate you listening to our new podcast.
Yeah, it's an experiment going. Leave us comments. Leave us any information, likes, dislikes. Tell us what you think. What would you like to hear more of? What would you like to hear less of? Me talking.
Visit the website for the reviews of the latest movies we've seen, sideheist.com.
Yeah, so go to sideheist.com for some reviews and some editorial stuff, some videos. You'll go to youtube.com/filmdebris for our videos and this audio file here.
Yeah.
My name is Robert Temple. You can find me on Twitter at Masturside, MASTURCIDE. You can also find at Film Debris and at Sideheist. D'Anthony, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at your boy Concepts. That's what I'm under. You can find me under on Sideheist. I have a few reviews up there. I'm doing a new thing I call Concepts Watch 1,000 Movies. Watching 1,000 movies in theaters. You can keep up with that. I'll be doing a post after every movie I see, just a quick recap of the experience for me, along with the Concepts Watch selfie.
What's the hashtag?
The hashtag would be hashtag Concepts Watch 1,000 Movies, and also hashtag Concepts Watch selfie.
And we thank you very much for spending time with us.
Thank you.
It's very nice, and we appreciate it. Go to the websites and everything, and it'll help us out a lot. So, for Deanthony Graves, this is Robert Temple from Film Debris. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.
Peace.